Have you ever wondered what would happen if you put City Pop and monsters together in the same setting? Well, when you think of scary anime, what do you think of? Vampire Hunter D? Something from Junji Ito? How about Chargeman Ken? I mean, it is scary bad after all. I guess it comes down to your definition of what is scary and what truly horrifies you, but I bet you didn't think of telephones, big 1980s anime hair, and romance. Enter the world of Call Me Tonight, a short one-shot OVA that really deserves more praise than it gets. It might only be 30 minutes long, but I would argue that this quick OVA is way better than most OVAs and TV series with 10 times the content for you to consume. The animation is great, the story is bizarre, but oh so anime, and somehow it packs all of this into a tight package that just makes you wish there was more by the time you reach the end. Plus, it might be the scariest anime ever because of one specific aspect of the story. So what the heck is Call Me Tonight all about anyway? Well, this OVA was released in 1986 as part of the Pink Noise OVA series. While each of the OVAs might have some similar-ish themes, each one has its own story with its own characters and is basically its own entity. They're just kind of tied together by name. And this one tells the story of Rumi, a wholesome phone sex worker that's just trying to get by, and Ryu, some weird guy that turns into a monster when he, well, gets excited, if you know what I mean. And that right there is the scariest part of this entire anime, and maybe the entire anime genre in general. I mean, come on, can you imagine destroying all of your clothes every time a cute girl walks by? Can you imagine turning into a crazy monster anytime you see anyone you find even remotely attractive? Can you imagine how many hot goth girls would be into you if they found out about this? Okay, maybe that part isn't quite so scary, but the rest is terrifying. I assure you, it is very, very, very terrifying. Let's just hope and pray this never turns into a reality. Anyway, Ryu decides to call Rumi and tell her about his condition for some reason. Sure, he could have called an anime doctor, but he decided calling an anime girl that makes a living seducing men over a landline phone was a better idea. Yeah, 1986 anime logic at its absolute best. So they meet up and she decides to get him all hot and bothered in a perfectly aesthetic 1980s anime cafe. So of course he turns into a monster. Truly terrifying stuff. And since this is in a cafe, some teenagers witness this, and that's not a good thing because one of them has a sister that's gonna throw a wrench into the whole thing soon enough. But before that happens, Rumi and Ryu decide to start dating or something. She's helping him try to get a grip on his monsterism, and it kind of looks like they're a couple now. There's not a lot of time to develop the story. You gotta remember, this thing is 30 minutes long, but remember the sister that I mentioned just a few seconds ago? Well, she decides she wants to see the monster, so she kidnaps this nice new young couple and decides she wants to try to have her way with Ryu while the rest of her gang tries to do the same with Rumi. And yes, this part is absolutely disgusting, but you have to remember it was the mid-80s OVA scene. At least it wasn't Violence Jack. So of course Ryu turns into a monster and there's a monstrous climax. See what I did there? But luckily, the love of Rumi saves the day and everything ends on a positive note with the villain working for Rumi and everyone seeming very satisfied? Okay, well, anime. Yeah, it's a weird OVA, and yes, all of this happens in a mere 30 minutes. It's a densely packed work of art for sure, but there's not a single moment that's wasted, which I appreciate. No filler here. As soon as this thing really kicks in, it's over. Yet somehow, it doesn't even seem overly rushed or incomplete. Now that's storytelling. On top of the story being so over the top and so anime, it's important to remember this thing was meant to be somewhat of a parody of anime in general, and as with many well-made parodies, it's better than many of the works it's lampooning. However, the quality makes sense when you look at who's behind the scenes. Between the production cast and the voice talent, you have a staff here that's worked on everything from Bubblegum Crisis to Ranma to Gundam. There's actually quite a bit of voice talent here that's still involved with Gundam to this very day, so you have a pedigree that is quite impressive behind this little thing. So other than the over-the-top insane story, what makes this so compelling to watch? Well, you've been witnessing the animation this entire time, and it's great. It might not be the best looking animation from the mid 80s, but it's ridiculously pleasing to look at, and it is the mid 1980s. It oozes 80s cool, and I'm okay with that. The colors, the energy, the hair, it's all here. If someone wanted to know why 80s anime was so great, and they only had 30 minutes for you to teach them, this would not be a terrible place to start at all. This OVA really shows the beauty of hand-drawn animation in spades, with amazing character designs, an immersive city, and legitimately scary monster elements. It just looks great. Could you imagine if this was released properly on Blu-ray from Discotek? Come on now, we need this in the world. On top of the animation being kind of spectacular and of the times in the best way possible, the soundtrack follows suit, immersing you in a world of city pop perfection you won't soon forget. It's memorable, it's catchy, and it sets the mood oh so well. This is why people love this era of Japanese pop music. Sure, there's not a ton of tracks, but with only 30 minutes to work with, they sure do pack a lot of great music in there. Plus, the soundtrack was even released on vinyl, and with good reason. And I can say with confidence, that's a record I would love to own one day, but judging by the prices online, it might be a little while before I can do that. But hey, at least the Laserdisc is super expensive too, so if I ever actually manage to get both of them, they'll be very costly friends. Well, there you go. Did this anime change the world when it was released? Maybe not, but it's really fun, so why wouldn't you want to take a chance on this short and sweet piece of otaku nostalgia? Unfortunately, this thing is currently not available on DVD or Blu-ray, and it's not officially streaming anywhere, but the internet is a magical place. I have a feeling you can find it if you really want to see it. I would even recommend putting this one on as a quick intermission between some more serious horror movies at your next Halloween movie marathon. It will throw people off, but I see no way a fan of the spooky or just weird wouldn't enjoy this piece of 80s anime history. Sure, this might not be the scariest thing ever at first glance, but you would be hard-pressed to find a man alive that wouldn't be at least a little terrified by the main plot point here. I mean, come on. That would just be awful if you woke up one day and that was happening to you. Truly terrifying stuff. And if this one falls flat for some reason, you could always resort to something even more over the top, like Wild Zero, to save your spooky Halloween otaku night. But come on, give this one a chance first. Go watch Call Me Tonight right now, and stay spooky.